Bonjour! Hello and welcome to another video. My name is Heather and as always I'm reading with a vengeance, and as always I hope you are as well. Today I'm here to talk to you about my favorite books so far, my 5 favorite books so far of the quarter. So January, February, and March. This was not an easy list to come up with. I've read some good books this year, but I came up with 5 of my favorites so far. I saw Amanda from the Curly Reader. She did this video just the other day, and I just thought I'd hop on that train. This might end up to be a little bit of a spoiler for the end of the year, you know, my favorites of the year. But so if you prefer to watch the end of the year, favorites of the year videos, I'd skip this video, but if not, I hope you enjoy it. Let's get started. I will start with some honorable mentions. I have 3 honorable mentions for my favorites of the quarter. The first one is The Lost Man by Jane Harper. I really enjoyed this read. This takes place in Australia and it surrounds the Bright family, specifically the 3 brothers, and they all have these huge properties that abut each other, and 2 of the brothers meet at kind of the border of their properties and they find their middle brother Cameron dead, and with no apparent reason how he got there or how he died or who was involved or if he did it himself. And the entire book is kind of going into the family's history, and the older brother, who it follows mostly from his point of view, I can't remember his name right now, but he's really trying to solve what happened to Cameron. And family secrets come out. I will say it's more character driven than plot driven, but it's so beautifully written that I absolutely love this one. Second honorable mention here for my list is The Appeal by Janice Hallett. This is a BookTube darling, talked a lot about. I really enjoyed this one. This is a murder mystery as well, and it is, and I can never say this word, epistolary. I can't even say this word. I really should study that. But basically the entire book is written in emails and texts and letters and such. What's fun about this book is that you can solve the mystery as a reader by placing certain dates and emails and just kind of piecing it together yourself. So it's super fun. But basically it follows a group of people. They're part of a theater group who are putting on a play, and they do so, I think, on a quarterly basis. And they're all friends and or family. One of the members of the theater group, their young daughter is diagnosed with a disease, and they are appealing to the public to help pay for a really expensive treatment. And during this appeal, all the fundraising and whatnot, someone is killed. And so this book kind of follows this theater group as they're appealing for, and money to help pay for this treatment, and they're also trying to figure out what has happened in the apparent murder of this theater group member. It's fascinating and just super fun. And if you appreciate a mystery where you're trying to solve the mystery and you can feasibly do so by the end of the book, I would recommend it. And my final book on my honorable mentions list is A Keeper by Graham Norton. This was absolutely wonderful, and it was really difficult keeping it off my top 5. But this follows Elizabeth, and she goes home to Ireland after the death of her mother, and she goes home mostly just to kind of clean out her house and tie up the loose ends that need to be tied up when somebody dies. But while she's there, she finds a stack of letters, and in reading these letters, she's learning things about her mom that she did not know about. And so in reading these letters, then the book kind of goes back in time to Elizabeth's mother when she met Elizabeth's father, and kind of the circumstances and the sinister circumstances surrounding how Elizabeth came to be. And it is not what I expected. It was such a fun surprise. It is creepy at times and just such a fun read. Okay, let's get on with my top 5. Number 5 is The Trespasser by Tana French. This is the 6th in the Dublin Murder Squad series, and this is such a great series. What's unique about this series is it follows the same kind of group of people, detectives in the Dublin Murder Squad, but not the same. So for instance, in the very first in the series, In the Woods, I believe it's called, it follows 2 specific detectives, but you meet all the other detectives in that book. And in the second book, the main characters are 2 other detectives that you've already met and become somewhat familiar with, and then each book is a different murder mystery. So unique and simple. Trespasser follows Antoinette Conway and her partner Stephen Moran, I believe. And they are assigned this murder that appears to be just your run-of-the-mill domestic murder. And Conway and Moran are being pressured by other detectives in the squad to kind of close the case as a domestic murder. But the more they get into it, the more they're learning that there's more than what it seems. And they get into some political trouble, they get into some legal trouble, and it's just a really, really fun read. Number 4 on my top 5 is the final revival of Opal and Nev by Dawnie Walton. I read this because it was longlisted for the Women's Prize for Fiction, and I absolutely enjoyed it. It was the first one from the long list that I read, and I absolutely loved it. And this follows Opal and Nev, who were a music duo back in the early 70s, and they were on the rise until one of their concerts, a riot breaks out, a race-related riot breaks out, and the drummer in their band is killed. And the story follows, gosh, I can't remember her name now, but there is a journalist who is kind of doing backstory on everything that happened back then and what happened to Opal and Nev after that incident, because there is talk of Opal and Nev doing a reunion concert. And the journalist's connection to Opal and Nev is that the drummer that was killed was her father, and he happened to be having an affair with Opal at the time. A lot of people had a hard time with how this book is written. It's written from multiple perspectives, like interview format, as what is her name? Sunny. Sunny interviews multiple people, including Opal, including Nev, and other members of the band, members of the music industry. And it explores themes of racism and feminism and misogyny, and all with the backdrop of the music industry, which I just really, really enjoyed. A lot of people compared this book to Daisy Jones and the Six. The only similarities there are the format of the book, the way it's told, and that the music industry is the backdrop. Similarities end there. This one goes a little bit deeper into themes, is a little bit darker, but absolutely 100% a 5-star read for me. Number 3 on my list is A Psalm for the Wild-Built by Becky Chambers. Oh my gosh, this one is in my heart. I absolutely love this one. As I've mentioned in previous videos, I am fairly new to sci-fi, but I'm really, really enjoying it. I am really looking forward to getting into Becky Chambers' other works. I still have this one on my TBR, so I'll get there. What can I say about this one? So in a nutshell, this takes place in the far, far future, and it's after robots who have been used in pretty much everything in life. They become self-aware, and they've decided to say, no more, we're not going to be used for humans every whim, and they decide to go off and live on their own and leave the humans to their own devices. So now, present day, this follows the story of a tea monk who kind of goes on a journey looking for more in life, and they meet a robot, and they continue on this journey together, learning about each other. And it really kind of goes into what it means to be human. The description I kind of gave it before in a nutshell is that it is a sci-fi story with a heart. It was so lovely. I am super excited because this is a first in a series, and the second one comes out, I believe, in June or July, and I can't wait. Total 5-star for me. Now, just fair warning, if you're not new to my channel, then you have heard me go on and on about these next 2 books, so forgive me, you're about to hear some more blather about these books. Number 2 on my top 5 of the quarter is Wolf by Wolf by Ryan Groden. It can be considered sci-fi, fantasy, adventure, historical fiction. It's just got all the goodies. There's a slight romance in it, but that's totally not even secondary, maybe not even tertiary. Let's see if I can nutshell this too, because I'm not kidding. I've blathered on and on about this book. So this follows Yael. Yael is a young Jewish woman who survived the camps of World War II. But here's the kicker. So in this world, and it takes place in 1956, in this world, World War II was won by Hitler. and Hitler and the Third Reich and all the Nazis, and along with the Japanese Empire, are running the world right now. While Yael was in a concentration camp, they did experiments on her, and these experiments has led her to have the ability to do what's called skin shift. So she can look at somebody or look at a picture of somebody and she can change and look exactly like that person. Then there's a motorcycle race, a intercontinental or transcontinental motorcycle race that Hitler has put on as kind of like a celebration of his victory. People from all over the world can join this motorcycle race, and it goes many weeks across many countries. The winner of this motorcycle race is invited to the victory ball and they can meet Hitler. So Yael is part of this resistance, and their big plan is Yael's going to race in this race and win the race, and then she's going to be invited to the victory ball where she will kill Hitler. So that's it in a nutshell, and it is so much fun to read, and the drama and the adventure, and it's just so good. I do have a soft spot in my heart for historical fiction, especially surrounding World War II, and this one just kind of put that whole genre and tipped it on its head. And it's just so much fun to read. I absolutely loved it. And I was super excited to find out it was the first in a duology. So the second one is called Blood for Blood. And I haven't gotten to it yet, but I will get to it. So yes, number 2 is Wolf by Wolf. And finally, if you're not new here, my number 1 favorite of the quarter so far will come to no surprise to you, and that is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. I did a full review on this book, so I won't go too much into the details on what it's about. I'll go ahead and link that video up top. But this is just a beautiful story following Cyril Avery in his life. He is an Irish man, he is a gay man, and it basically just follows him from before he was even born across decades till he was 70 years old, and it follows his life, his relationships, his family, all the while written beautifully with witty and funny, laugh out loud, funny dialogue. It's just fantastic. If you want to hear more details about it, please feel free to watch my review of it. It's just a stunning novel. And if you don't want to hear me blather on, just read it. I absolutely loved it. And if you are into audiobooks, I highly recommend listening to it instead. Stephen Hogan, who is an Irish actor, reads this and he does an absolutely stellar job. So please, if you have the choice, I would recommend listening to it. But either way, just dive into this story. You won't regret it, I promise. So those are my 5 favorites of the quarter. Have you read any of these? What did you think about them? All opinions are welcome here. Please feel free to comment down below. If you are still watching at this point, please give that like button a boop and subscribe. I would most appreciate it. Thank you so very much for watching. I'm happy to have you here, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.